It is about your story, your specific story, because you know what? AI can't produce that. That is one of the great messages that we pulled out of this week's guest. And believe it or not, her and I do a lot of the same things, which means if you're looking for a different perspective on some of the ways that we do podcasting, you want to stay tuned. It's always interesting to have other podcast producers on the show. Sarah, thanks for coming on. We're going to have I'm sure an interesting conversation because we've got probably a lot of the same war stories. As you nod like, but we're probably going to have some different ones. You started the branded media. Like, was there a specific moment where you're like, yes, podcasting, this is where I'm going? How did that come to be?
It actually kind of happened a little bit backwards because originally the first company that I launched was Favorite Daughter Media. And I launched that to focus on podcast guesting and guest coaching because I had been producing a podcast for a few years already. I was in-house as a director of marketing for a company that had a podcast. So I was producing their show. And I saw some really great guests and I saw some really, really bad guests. And I was like, something could be done here. And so I launched a company originally just because I wanted to help people be better guests so that the hosts don't have to waste their time. The amount of times I sent that, I'm so sorry, the audio file got corrupted somehow. We can't release it. And it's like, no, I just meant that this was terrible. Like that happened so many times. I'm like, maybe there's something I could do to fix this. So I got in on the guesting side and then it just kind of grew into producing and launching our own shows.
That's amazing. And it's funny because anyone that has sat in front of the microphone as a host has always had that person about 4 minutes into the episode where you start looking at them like, oh, this is what you brought.
My last podcast, I had a co-host and I've literally sent a text 3 minutes in, like, this isn't airing, right? And like, no, just let him go. Just let him talk. We're never going to release this. Yeah, no, we've all been there.
Yes, we have. We had one the other day where someone was told specifically not to talk about certain things and they went straight for it. And we're like, no, that's not going to happen.
That one, so one of the things that I tell hosts, like one of my number one piece of advice for a podcast host is do not ask the question, introduce yourself.
Same.
Because it just opens the floor for them to just take it over. It's their show now. And they go spend the first 15 minutes just going over their resume. We do not do that. So this person comes on. The first question we ask is like, why do you do this one specific thing? Like a very specific question. And he's like, you know what? Before I answer that, let me tell you my story. And that was the last time me or my co-host got to speak for the next 15 minutes. And I think the one time I did get to speak was me trying, did you actually just say that? Like, I was just questioning his nonsense that he was spewing. And I'm like, yeah, this is not going out ever.
It's funny you say that because one of the things that I always tell people when introducing a guest, you introduce them and ask a very specific question. We've dealt with a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers, and I'm like, if you introduce yourself to a doctor, if you've got a 20-minute podcast, you're 17 minutes in, and maybe they're at their residency. Your smile says, "Yep, we've got a shared trauma here." Which
we're going to trauma bond today. We're going to trauma bond.
We're totally going to do that. With that, so you kind of started you started into the podcasting business, and I know a lot of it was helping people that have speaking engagements or want speaking engagements. How did you bridge that gap from one to the other and say, okay, this is the natural progression here? And how did you feel like, yes, this is the step where I can get people from point A to point B?
That's another one where it's like nothing kind of happened in the right order. I had been in the podcast space, and then I put a book out on storytelling, and my whole focus was storytelling for thought leaders. And thought leadership is it's a buzzword right now. It's what everyone is kind of trying to do. And there are a few different pillars that make someone a thought leader. Like there are things that you need to do in order to be successful in thought leadership. And it's have a podcast, have stages, have a book, and have a website with your name as the domain. And that conversation kind of started to tie things together. So we were already launching podcasts. So then we started launching podcasts, partnering with different book publishing companies and working with authors to launch podcasts to go with their books. We started working with public speakers to launch them a podcast to help them get on more stages, and kind of just started putting those pieces together so that we could help people create that whole thought leadership umbrella with all of the pillars under it.
That's interesting. So it was really, you kind of had a couple of pieces in place and you're like, let's just add the others and we've now got the full umbrella rather than just pieces of it.
Yeah. And we don't do all of the pieces, like we don't publish books,
Sure.
but we work with you to turn your book into a podcast or have them work together. So we have partnerships with different companies who do different things. And we kind of just, how do we put this all together and make these kind of like almost like a cohesive marketing plan versus a few different strategies just working by themselves.
That makes good sense. I love that. Especially when working with guests and as you've worked with hosts, we always try and work with people on like, how do you get the authentic story? We've all had, I see the smile once again, the trauma bond is going to be strong here, is that like, there's so many times when you ask someone a question and you're like, I'm asking them a genuine question. And I got a script that is 5 to 10 degrees off of my question. How have you worked with people in order to make sure like, hey, we're going to get done what we're supposed to get done here? And it's, once again, it's making sure that people appear correctly. For me, one of the reasons why I love podcasting is if done right, you've got someone that's genuine. You can tell that the two of us we're pretty much ourselves right now. No one wants to act like me. Trust me. So what's an encouraging thing that you tell people that like, hey, be yourself, act like, answer the questions, talk about this. What's a way you get people to do that?
That is a really good question, and that is an answer that I am developing every day. I think part of it is tying in AI, because right now AI can do almost anything, and people are craving genuine human connection, and they're craving actual, just authentic content. And if you're just reading off a script that ChatGPT wrote you, that's not going to hit the mark. I call it like AI generated authenticity, which is in itself just not a thing. And
bit of an oxymoron.
Exactly. The only thing that like ChatGPT cannot do is tell your story. And if you want to stand out from what is just all of the slop that's out there, you have to do that. And another piece of it is just kind of the way that I approach storytelling. And I've seen a lot of people telling their story, and they tell the same story, and they tell it over and over and over again. And it's always that one big traumatic story, something that happened like in their childhood or something. And it's just that one thing. And is that story important? Absolutely. Is that story valid and need to be told? Absolutely. Is every single time that you tell a story supposed to be that story? No, it is not. So part of what I do is, instead of teaching people like, how do we tell this story? I'm not teaching you that. I'm teaching you how to find other stories to tell, and how do you figure out what has happened in your life that is story worthy and how to tell it, so that you're not relying on that one story and you can answer a question with a story that actually fits the question, and you're not just shoehorning in this one story that you now are known for.
It's funny you say that because it makes perfect sense, because we've all heard that story when you hear someone on one podcast and then you follow them to another podcast. You're like, didn't I hear this? Like, did they just copy and paste this? The fact that you're like encouraging them not to just copy and paste is amazing. That to me is a big key for that. As we move on, to me, I obviously see the return on investment with podcasting. I think, pretty sure you see the return on investment in podcasting. Where's the thing, like, what's the thing that should be convincing people that, yes, you need to do this? And I mean, what's the other piece to that is too, is, as you and I know, podcasting is not hey, I put $1 in and 3 weeks later I'm getting $2 out. This is a slow burn. What is the big advantages that you see in podcasting that helps them build with their audience?
No, that's a great question, because I am always asked, what is the ROI of podcasting?
Yep.
And it is the hardest question to answer, because I don't know. I'm not there long enough to do that math, because something that happened today could convert like 10 years down the line. Like, it is so impossible to measure the actual ROI, because it's not something happening in a vacuum either. Like, a podcast is not a marketing strategy. It's not a marketing plan. It is a tool, and you have to be using all of these other strategies with it to make things happen and to make it effective. So I've almost stopped talking about ROI. And when people ask me like what the ROI is, I reframe it as return on impact. And this isn't about the money directly coming from the show, because I can promise you, at least for the first year, it's going to cost you more than it makes you. But how is it going to impact your brand? And that is something that you can start measuring like day it launches. And you're putting this content up on your website, so you're getting a whole lot of SEO power to your website to drive that traffic. If you're like me, and the worst part of being a business owner is having to create social media content, my socials have been updated maybe like 3 times since the Biden administration. It's awful. And creating that content is a pain. So having a podcast gives you a funnel of just content that you can share. And it's giving you credibility, because people don't have to listen to your podcast. But if you say, like, I host a podcast on this topic, it's kind of just like implied that you're an expert on that topic.
Sure.
And it's like a little bit, I don't want to say manipulative, but you're able to like grab some credibility just from the title of podcast host. So there's so many ways that it's going to start impacting your brand right away that aren't going to be monetary, but they're going to tie into things that are. So you're going to have people that find you through your podcast and want to work with you, or they find you, they check out your social media and they see these clips of you from your show that are talking about things that are relevant to them. And they're like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. I trust them a little bit more. Let's start that conversation. So there's ways that it's impacting you, and it's increasing your clientele. It's increasing your reach, your impressions, all of that. But it's not always in a way that is directly quantifiable.
Sure. It's funny. One of the things that I sometimes look at with that is you can't necessarily say, hey, I am calling because of your podcast, but in so many ways, the podcast may have been the thing that got them over that hump, or they're calling because they saw the ad someplace, but they initially made contact because of the podcast. I see that all the time. With that, I mean, I know you work on a broad range of podcasts. What is your favorite part of being in the industry and involved with podcasting overall?
Ooh, there's a few. Can I give 2?
By all means.
One is the industry itself is so friendly and collaborative. And I mean, you and I know this, like, you reached out asking if I wanted to be on your podcast. And I was like, yes, but full disclosure, I'm your competitor. And I was like, I'm fine with that if you're fine with that. And you're like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, let's talk. And it's really because this industry isn't about competition. And there are things that I do differently than you, and there are things you do differently than me. There's things you probably do better than me, and there might be some things I might do better than you. And we will find our audiences, and the people who want to work with me are different than the people who want to work with you. And I'd rather partner with people and kind of fill in those gaps for each other than just try to make this a dog eat dog kind of thing. And that is very normal in this industry, and I love that. And now, what was the second one?
Well, while you think of the second one, I want to mention something about the first reason there. Just looking at our scenes and us here, there's young woman, old guy. There's a woman with like bright pink headphones and a pink glittery background, and me in a bow tie with stones behind me. I mean, this is like, if someone said we did the same exact thing and then they looked at us, they'd be like, what?
We do similar things and we do it differently, and we do it in our own way.
100%.
And that is a beautiful thing, I think.
And like I said, anyone that's watching the video for this, like I said, the obviousness of that statement, you have a pink microphone cover. I mean, there's just 20 different ways that we're completely different in this. And to me, some of the diversity in what podcasting is one of the pieces that I truly love, because there's podcasts about everything and anything out there. There's knitting podcasts, there's racing podcasts, and everything in between. Yeah. And I love the collaboration statement, because that's something that we believe firmly in. And like I said, we do similar things. I don't think they're the same, though.
Probably not. We do them differently. We do them in our own way. And I think at this point, people want to work with people that they like and people that they connect with. And the people who are going to connect with you and the people that are going to connect with me might not be the same people. And that makes sense. And I think when we work together to improve everything that we're doing, it's like rising tides raise all ships. And I love that about this industry, and I think more industries need to be like that. And I think there's something beautiful about it, especially with how much in the world is divisive right now. Sure, it's a very come together kind of place. And then the other one is the part of what I do that I love so much. So I do podcast launches, and I help people like for a business. I do branded content, so it's business podcasts, and the launch process is my favorite thing. It's coming up with the strategy, coming up with the concept, putting pieces together. What is the goal that you're trying to accomplish? What is it that your business does differently? What is it that the audience you're trying to reach is looking for? And how do we design a podcast that's going to hit all of these boxes and do it in a way that is artful and strategic and content forward and value driven? And thankfully, I don't have to sit there and do all the editing myself anymore. I have a team that can do that, and I can dedicate myself to the part that I love the most, which is that strategy and that development. And that is just so fun for me. I meet someone and the first thing I'm doing is like, okay, so what's your podcast concept? What is it that you like? They tell me what they do and I'm like, okay, so here's your podcast. I'll be talking to someone for 5 minutes and I've already designed their cover art. And I'm like, okay, so here's what I made you. And that is not a lie. That has happened and it's saved and I'm waiting for them to launch it. But it's just fun for me and it's how my brain works. And the fact that I do this for a living is ridiculous.
That's awesome. It's funny. I truly, truly love what I do too. I mean, it's the things that we get to do, the people that we get to talk to, the people we get to work with, all those things are truly, truly awesome. And that strategy piece, I always find that interesting because it's a piece that so many people launch without. Yes. I recently had Dave Jackson on the show. And he's actually local, so he was in the studio with me. Yes. Yeah. So great guy. I mean, we talked for 45 minutes, and he probably spent 2 hours here at the studio. But he said, like right from the get-go, the why. He goes, so many people just want to have a podcast, but they want to have a podcast. They don't know why. And figuring that out is real. It truly is. It's such a big piece of that, because if you're missing that, you're going to get to the pod fade point where you're 10 episodes in and you're like, why the hell am I doing this? This is a lot of work. Or if it's not a lot of work, it's a lot of money. Because it's what we do. I mean, both you and I save people time, and we save people work by taking that on ourselves. And so I don't know about you. Our business is not free. I didn't think yours was either.
Not usually.
No. I mean,
I'm launching a pro bono project. So right now, a little bit, but mostly no.
we do some of those also. Just, it feels good to give back to the community too.
Absolutely.
That being said, we talked even briefly before we started up here, and I'm like, no, we need to hit record, on some lessons learned, because in doing this, we both may have been kicked in the teeth a few times and have been like, oh yeah, not going to do that again. Inevitably we do it 2 or 3 more times before we finally figure out, oh, this is how I prevent myself from doing this. What is a big lesson that you have learned throughout your podcasting journey? Is your podcast not getting the results you hoped for? Are you feeling stuck and unsure how to grow your audience or make a real impact? We get it. Podcasting can be a challenge, but with the right strategies, it can be an incredibly powerful tool. That's why we're offering our free no-pitch podcast consultation. We'll spend 30 minutes with you identifying areas for improvement on anything from optimizing your audio or video quality to developing a content strategy that resonates with your customers. If you're ready to unleash your podcast's full potential, visit the link in our show notes to schedule your free consultation. Space is limited, so sign up today so we can help you create a podcast that truly shines.
From the perspective of a host, a producer, or the business owner that helps other people launch, I've got different answers.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. I would say, the one that seems the most prevalent is I've had to make expectations incredibly clear from the beginning. And that goes to back with what we were saying about ROI and explaining to them, like, this might not make you money. This is going to cost you money. This is an investment, but it's going to impact your brand. But even I just had a conversation with a prospect and they were ready to go. And let's figure this out. Like sign on the dotted line. I want this. But one of the things they said is the launch package that I offer comes with the first 5 episodes. And from there, you either can continue ongoing with us, or you could take it and do it yourself if that's better for your budget. And they had said, well, we'll do the 5. We'll see how it's performing. And we'll decide if we want to continue with the podcast at all from there. And I was like, no, I can tell you right now that is not worth your budget. Mm-mm. Because 5 episodes in, your podcast will be doing nothing. The download you'll have will be you and your coworkers.
Maybe your mom.
And maybe. My mom doesn't listen to mine, but maybe. And it's not going to have done anything that we've talked about it doing, because 5 episodes is not enough. But I structure it to offer 5 so that I could keep it budget friendly. And if you want to continue it on your own, you can. And I give you all of the assets so that you can do that. So it's either tell me now that you plan on continuing it, even if it's not with my team, or I'm just going to tell you off the bat, don't waste your money. And that was a interesting conversation to have.
I've had the same conversation with people too, because you can always tell when someone's I say, you're not going to see traction from this you're really not going to see any traction for at least 6 months. Yeah. And then you'll start to see it build. And the problem is the build is, I don't want to say exponential, but it's multiplying. So you go from 1 listener to 2. Then you go from 2 to 4. Then you go from 4 to 8. Then it's from 8 to 16. Then it's from 16 to 32. So it's exponential, but people don't want to wait for that curve. They just instantly want 1,000. And the 2 reasons that I see with it is, one is there's the Rogan expectation. Rogan gets 3 million.
I call it the Joe Rogan delusions of grandeur.
Yes, same. We're very, very close in that. And then the other thing is too, is I joke about it is, I drove into the studio today. Therefore, I'm a race car driver because it's the same thing. And no, people, it is not. And then the other piece to that is for me, like I said, there's that exponential build over time. Some people see we know of there's podcast companies out there that will buy the views and buy the downloads. Mm-hmm. I had a friend of mine. She was getting close to 10,000 downloads a month, and she was thrilled. And then she finally got access to the numbers. And when she saw 9,875 of them were from Singapore, she was upset, to say the least. That to me is one of those things where I'm just like, look, if you want vanity metrics, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get vanity metrics.
There's also so much like the podcasts that we see so prevalently aren't by podcasters. They are by celebrities that wanted a podcast. And I also have to explain this to a lot of people, especially when we're picking the name and they're like, I want it to be called The Sarah Show. And it's like, okay, but who is Sarah? Is anyone searching for you? No. The only people who can get away with that are celebrities because people are Googling their name. And instead, you need to be very clear about what the content is. So people looking for the content are going to find you. But people see these podcasts that are like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan didn't get famous because he had a podcast. He was famous and he launched a podcast. He was already a celebrity. He already had a following. And so we see podcasts and we think, if I have a podcast, I'm going to have this massive audience. And we start to look at an audience in terms of like a football stadium. And I try to reframe this as much as I can as like, if you're thinking of your podcast as on stage in like a football stadium in this massive arena, like you are the Eras Tour, you're going to have 20 people listening to your podcast, and that's going to look like an empty stadium. But if instead you picture like you're sitting in your living room and there's 20 people there having this conversation with you, that is standing room only. Like that is a packed room. People are like tripping over each other, depending on how big your living room is. But it's just, we need to reframe our expectations. Like we are not celebrities. We don't have this massive built-in audience. If you just think of these people, like you are having this conversation about something that you are passionate about with these 20 people in your living room, that is a really filled room. You just have to stop expecting to sell out stadiums.
I love that. It's so many people look at the scale of the world instead of the like, look, here's what you should be talking to. Here's where you should be talking. And it's once again, too, like as someone that speaks in public on occasion myself, if I get an audience of 10 or 12 people, I'm pretty excited about that. The expectations of like, hey, I'm going to have millions of people following me. No, you typically are.
And that shouldn't even be like they say, like if your audience is everybody, your audience is really nobody. And part of the process that I go through when I'm launching a show is minimizing the audience as much as I can. It's like the riches are in the niches, and niche down until it hurts. You don't want to just have a podcast about healthcare, because how many other ones are there? You're competing against so many other shows. But if you have a podcast about healthcare for women, you have a podcast about healthcare for women in underserved communities, you have a podcast about healthcare for women in underserved communities and their children. Like, how much more specific can we get? You're knocking off most of the audience there, but you're connecting to the people that are actually relevant. And it's better to have a conversation with like 50 people that are really engaged and listening and are impacted by what you're saying than 50,000 who just hit play because they were bored on their walk to the mall. Like, you have to think about what your goal is, because your goal should not be, I just want everyone to hear me.
No, it's funny. I had to present this to a client a while back. I asked him, I'm like, do you want 5,000 listeners or 50 people with checkbooks? And exactly. They're like, no, we want the 5,000 listeners. And I'm like,
why?
Right. It took me about a half an hour to break them of this, to be like, yeah, no. There's no one, like, those people don't care. The 50 with checkbooks are like ready to write you checks. Do you want checks? It took a while to break them of it. It's interesting. In the class that I teach, it's the same thing. It's once again, I tell them you have to pick a person that you can visualize in their mind. It's not 35 to 60. It's a 37-year-old that does X, Y, and Z. And it's tough to get people to understand that you're not eliminating the rest of the people. You're just focusing on one, is the one that we've had a tough one with. When
I speak on this, I'm like, I want you to tell me who your audience is, and I do not want you to tell me a range of anything. I want a name. Like, name this person. They are 27 years old. They live in Austin, Texas. They do this for a living. They are in the process of selling their grandmother's house, and the attic is filled with dolls that might be haunted. Like, how specific can we possibly get about this person?
That's quite specific.
Exactly. Yes. She's struggling right now. Okay. Nobody wants to buy this house. It is haunted. But like my point is, like, if you're just wanting to reach people that are 25 to 45, people 25 to 45 are all looking for something different.
Yep.
You're not going to reach every single one of them the same way. So get specific, talk to one person. This is who I want to speak to, this one person, and put out content that they are looking for. Know what their pain points are. Know what they need solved. Put out content that solves that, and they will find you.
Love that. I think, to me, that's a good way to go to what you see in the future for podcasting. I think we've got a bright future. There's a lot of people that are looking at AI going, this is like the dinosaurs looking up at the meteor. To me though, I think we've got a bright future in this. What's something that you see? We're launching end of the first quarter 2026 here with this show. What's something that you want to see, or that you do see, that's going to be the rest of the year here?
I think podcasting is the perfect response to the way technology is changing. Podcasting is not commercial yet. Podcasting is not, even when it is used for marketing, it is not infomercials. Podcasting is a platform for genuine storytelling. It is a platform for authenticity. It is a platform for, not for corporations and people hiding behind logos, but it's for the actual leaders to show their face and speak their mind and say what they need to say. And we live in a society that is led by corporations, that is a lot of just people hiding behind logos. And podcasts give you an opportunity to connect with people and be face to face and have conversations. And that's going to break past the AI slop. It's going to break past the things that are not genuine, that are not authentic, that are just marketing messages. And I am excited for that. I think if you're not podcasting right now, you're missing the boat, and you got to get on board as soon as you can, because people are craving human connection. And you can put something in writing, but you can't prove that it was said by a person unless you have it on video. This is what they said. So
that's wonderful.
Do it.
That's wonderful. That being said, you said just do it. If you're going to give advice to a podcaster, maybe it's someone that's thinking about it, just started, something to that effect, you cannot say just press record. You're like, damn.
I would never.
You're like, damn it.
I would never.
That is what is the one piece of advice that you feel that you can give to someone in just a few sentences from your experience in doing this?
Don't lead with the content. Lead with the strategy and the why. There are so many podcasts out there that are just like, let's just hit record. And me and my buddies, we talk all the time, and we're so funny, and we're always laughing, and we should have a podcast. No, you should not. You should hang out with your buddies, and you should talk, and you should laugh. And let's leave it at that. We don't need to hear it. Why do you want a podcast? What is your goal? What is the reason? What is it that you're saying that is important for other people to hear? And what is it, like, who is it important to hear? Like, who needs to hear this? Figure out why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. And if your reason is because you want to make money, you're already missing the boat. That's not what you're going to do. So be very clear on just why you're doing this, who you're doing it for, what it means to you, and just lead with that. Don't just hit record. So many people just hit record and they just speak nonsense for 20 minutes. They put it up online and they're like, why don't I have fans and followers? It's like, because that didn't say anything. You spent 20 minutes just spewing nonsense and no one needs to hear. Have a strategy, have a reason for doing this, say something important. And that's how you're going to eventually find success in it. Again, it's even with that, it's not going to be an overnight success. It's always a slow burn.
Love it. With all of that, I mean, obviously, I love this, and I think we've become fast friends in a way. Could be via the trauma bonding, but obviously we do things differently. If people would like to get in touch with you, what's website, socials? How can people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. My website is workwithbranded.com, or you can go to meetwithbranded.com to just book a call with me. I'd love to chat. And my website talks about how we do things and why we do things. And if it's something that is a match for what you're trying to do, I'd love to talk to you. And my socials are Stick With Branded. But again, I don't really post much at all because I forget. So don't expect much. Set those expectations low.
What a great way to leave it, Sarah. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. For everyone else, I took some notes. I'm going to summarize some of this, and I will be right back. Sarah's a great guest, and that stands to reason because she helps train guests. What a great niche spot to be in, because look, if you already host a podcast and you have guests on, you know, sometimes those can turn into an absolute nightmare. So if you have someone that has coached people ahead of time and worked with them and gotten them to a point where they're going to be a great guest, boy, does that take some of the load off you as a host and makes it just so much. I mean, it makes the episode so much better. To me, like talking with Sarah today was amazing because she's a great guest. She had great ideas on stuff. She knew where she was going with things. She knew the point she was trying to convey. And you can tell with each time it wasn't this repetitive point that she was trying to get out. I catch myself doing that all the time where I'm trying to tell the same story over and over again. I know you guys are sick of hearing some of the same stories over again. So what other items do I have that are relevant to that? She did a great job of having those new stories, those new items, those other pieces come out. So it wasn't just her saying the same thing from podcast to podcast to podcast. It's a different story every time. It really adds that value to like her being a guest, because you know you're not just going to get the rubber stamped thing that she said the last time. With that, I mean, as I start doing more and more guest appearances on other podcasts, I'm starting to look at those types of things. What are the things that I need to do in order to step up my game to be a great guest for people? One, find some new stories. And that's one that I'm definitely going to be working on soon. She mentioned collaboration in the industry, and I have to agree. I love the fact that so many of us can collaborate and work together. I'm going to quote a podcast host of mine. It's Bill Snow from the Late to Grid podcast. He owns an automotive shop is one of the things that he does. And he says there's plenty of cars out there. He's right. There is. We don't need to fight over the same ones. It's finding the ones that you can help the most. Sarah and I talked, for a little bit afterwards about hey, what's your specialty? What's your specialty? Because we're going to refer people to each other because we want to make sure that everyone gets the help that they deserve. She's got a specialty in finance. She knows how to work with, they've always got they have to worry about what they say. You can't say certain things. You got to worry about the law. You've got to worry about all sorts of other compliance things. She knows how to go through that jungle of compliance. It's not a specialty of ours. So to me, for a finance podcast, boy, is she a great one to talk to about something like that. Strategy is something that everyone needs to start their podcast with. And to me, it's something that you should probably audit every 6 months or so. What is the strategy? What are we trying to accomplish? Where are we going? Dave Jackson said this a few episodes ago. Why? Why are we doing this? Make sure you're answering that question. That is with each show, why are you doing this? Make sure that you answer that question. The other one, too, when she said the 20 people in the living room, I love that example. Like 20 people in your living room is crowded. 20 people in a stadium, you're not even going to be able to, you're not going to see them all because they're going to be so spread out. That's a great piece to that just shows that it doesn't need to fill a stadium to be effective. If you have a room of 20 people, boy, you can be super, super effective, especially if those 20 people are really interested in what you have to say. That's where finding your podcast happens. That's where finding your audience happens, is it's finding those 20 people that really, truly do want to hear from you. That's what makes it special. And that's what makes it a connection. Once again, we all want to talk to 3 million people because we think out of those 3 million people, 10% of them are going to call and order something off of us. No, I'd much, and I mean, you know, that 10% isn't going to happen. I'd much rather have the 300 people that I really connect with, that really want to support me, that totally fit our mission and what we do. I'm going to go back to a story that I have told before. The Prof G Markets podcast, they typically start with a reasonably offensive joke because they know their audience. It's not going to offend their audience, but it's going to offend a lot of other people. Once again, they're not trying to talk to everyone. They're trying to talk to the people that truly, truly belong in that community. That being said, if you want to, check out our Discord community. Would love to see you there. Would also love to include you on our emails. If you want podcasting tips, no, we are not going to spam the bejabbers out of you. We talk about each episode and we talk about what we've learned in the episodes. Do me a favor, go sign up for the newsletter. With all that being said, take care of yourself. If you can, take care of someone else too. I will see you very, very soon.
Creating engaging content can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. That's why I'm excited to share our Stomping Podcasting newsletter. You'll get actionable insights and expert tips straight to your inbox. These are to help you maximize your video marketing and podcasting return on investment. Head over to the show notes and click the link to subscribe to our free newsletter. Don't miss out on this opportunity to become a video marketing and podcasting pro.